Hey, this is just a little rant, me telling a story that I find funny, and it kind of relates into, are you really ready to go to a small place? Are you ready to go to a small island, a small community? Are you, do you have the mindset and the awareness to go survive and succeed in a very small community? It's a lot different when you can't just walk away from people, when they're the only source of food for the next 10 miles or, 10 kilometers or whatever, right? When you move into small communities, it's a whole different environment. And I don't think a lot of people out there process that in a very appropriate way. So I wanted to tell this story and kind of touch on that. And, you know, it's there. If you want to listen to it, great. If not, great. Go have a great day. Get a passport, get out and use it, and take care. Hey, I'm going to sit here and tell a story. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it up into why I think it's important for travelers and expats to kind of have this story in the back of their mind. It's not a fable, but it kind of falls into that category. Kind of falls into the urban legend because I don't think any of it can be confirmed. It's just or a story that was relayed to me by many people in a small community, and it's funny as all hell. So I spent a month up in this little tiny community, and when I say tiny community, there was a little store like, a tiny fraction of the size of an average 7-Eleven, two gas pumps, and then across the street was a little post office that, you couldn't fit more than 5 people in. Sorry, the mosquitoes are killing me today. Very rural, and just to give you an idea of like the people there, so like I like to walk, so I'm going for a walk down the road, and people would stop. They'd see me, "Are you okay? Do you need a ride? Are you okay? Do you need a ride?" Everywhere. There's a little crossroads. I'd be coming up on the crossroads. A car would be driving, crossing past in front of me. They'd see me way off down there, and they'd be like, zip over. "Hey, are you okay? Do you need a ride?" And it's like nobody understood. I just wanted to go for a walk because they're so used to not seeing people walking, and they give a ride to any local on the street, and they all knew who I was. So trying to find a comfortable position to hold my phone. So that's the nature of the neighborhood, right? The other thing that's kind of give you perspective on the country, it's mountainous, rivers, right? Everybody's got a shotgun, a fishing pole, or a rifle, or an axe hanging in the back window of their truck. This is late 90s, mid 90s. And the story happened in the early 90s, I think, like judging from what people were telling me. So one morning I go out to the road to get the mail. It's like, I don't know, 300, 400 meters up to the road. And I get up to the road, and right in the center of the road, I see this black pile. I'm like, that's weird. And as I'm going over there, it's weird. It's like centered right on the yellow stripe. It's dot, 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 stripe, 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 the old school. And it's centered right on a yellow stripe. And there was this big round pile of shit. Bear shit. Now it was cool. Fall time. And that bear shit was steaming. And when I say big, picture like a 10-inch or 12-inch plate, like a big dinner plate, oversized dinner plate. Just massive. And pile it with mashed potatoes or something of that texture, and just as much as you can get on there. It was just this perfect little cone shape. It was clear the bear had been eating some berries or something, because what was there, and the smell. Oh, but it is literally steaming, and it's not that cold. It's cool. It's not cold. You want to talk about a pucker factor? I got the mail, and I backed down that driveway so carefully. There was nowhere to run to, nothing to do in that situation but cross your fingers. So that's the area. So this couple comes up. They're retiring out of a Pacific Northwest, moving northeast from the Pacific Northwest, gonna get a cabin up in the mountains, kind of like that, but a lot more rural. So they get this cabin, and they're a little persnickety, a little, they're not fitting into the local culture very well. The store, the good beer is Michelob in the 90s. The good beer is Michelob. Most people don't drink it because it's too expensive and it's not that good. So, there's two other types of beer. You can get beer A, beer B, or the good beer. And hardly anybody ever got the good beer, just people trying to show off. So, this persnickety, I like that word today, couple, they've got their cabin, their, nicely washed SUV. They drive the hour and a half into town all the time, right? And they don't do a lot of shopping local. They don't interact with the locals much. When they do, they're griping and moaning and pissy. And they start to get a little upset that they're getting a little cow poo on their tires, right? Because this one farmer pushes his dairy cows across the street every so often, a couple times a week. And when they cross the road, they poop in the road. Nobody gives a flying F, right? Nobody cares, except this couple. So they go to the county, complain, nothing. They finally get pissy. They go to the state and complain. And before that happens, further down the road, they end up in a ditch, right? They swerve and miss a deer or something, end up in a ditch. No big deal. Usually, when that happened, you just either flag someone down or walk to the next house, and they'll call somebody, and they'll come with a tractor, a backhoe, a bulldozer, or even just a pickup, right? And they'll yank you right out. And that little stretch of road where they hit was common to see deer. And, I knew exactly where they went in. I knew the area. And, within walking distance, you could go to 3 or 4 ranches there, houses, whatever. And, you'd have a backhoe, a bulldozer, and 2 tractors, and all of them could pull a semi out of that little ditch. But they didn't have the rapport to just walk up and talk to these people, or the gumption to walk up and ask for help. And I don't think by that point in time, according to the stories I heard, anybody would have helped them. Now, remind you, this is the type of place where people would set down their steak, set down their beer, and get up and go pull you out of the ditch, and then come back to a cold steak and a warm beer. That's this community at this time. And they didn't have that. So winter comes, it's a record-setting winter. It's their first winter. And they don't have any prearranged, deal for somebody to keep the road clean, their driveway. You have snow, right? No plans, right? No interaction. Record snow. Like the place I was staying, 2nd story window, they had to tunnel up from the 2nd story window, snowshoe across to the shed, tunnel down to the shed's 2nd story window, and then tunnel out, like to build a ramp to get the snowmobiles out. And that's what they did. I'm glad I wasn't there. That's a lot of snow shovel work. And no, thank you. I'll do it if I have to. But, by this time in my life, no. So it was that type of winter. They had no plans with anybody to keep the road clear. So eventually spring rolls around and nobody's seen from them, heard from them, anything. But a realtor shows up. And the realtor, is asking around, doesn't know anything, just got a contract wasn't even over the internet. I think it was mail and phone to sell this house. And she's like, what happened here? It looks crazy. So a couple of locals go up to look at it. She's trying to find somebody to do some renovations and repairs, and not having much luck, right? So one of the guys that actually saw it was telling me that, like, the cabinets were broken. There's no cabinet doors. Some of the siding the paneling off the inside was gone. No furniture, just crazy. And so the theory was, when winter hit, they had no way out, and they had no way to even get to their firewood, because he's like, there was a ton of firewood still left. The place I was staying, for a little house, there were 4 to 6 cords of firewood every winter, and usually go through 3 or 4 of that, just depending on the winter. And that's with a very efficient house and a very efficient wood stove. So, and this was an exceptional winter. So the theory was they burned up everything. And here's where the joke comes in. Here's the punchline is, does Ethan Allen sell furniture at cordwood prices? Can you buy like a cord of Ethan Allen? Ethan Allen's a furniture store, if you don't know, furniture line. But so the joke would always get twisted or spun like, oh, that dude's going to be buying Ethan Allen for firewood this year, you know, or however you want to spin it. Any joke about Ethan Allen relates back to this core story. And the jokes were always there, right? Whether it was a cautionary, whether it was a dig, whether it was a, you know, hey, stay in your lane. You know, there were so many jokes made in the short time I was there. And this is years after the event. So why is this important to you as a traveler, an expat, or a slow traveler, whatever? You gotta be careful who you talk to and how you talk to people, because you're gonna be out in places where there is no help. You're gonna be in places where there's no 911. Sure, you can call, but like out there, you call the sheriff, like if there's a, you know, somebody bleeding or a violent criminal, they'll be there in an hour, yeah, maybe two. You know, if you call the fire department, ambulance, you know, they'll be there in an hour, maybe two. If they're not busy with something else on the other side of the county, other side of the state, who knows, right? If there's a fire, it's you and your neighbors are going to put out that fire, or, you know, it'll be a forest fire. And that's a relationship skill that a lot of people don't seem to demonstrate online. Now, I know for a fact there's a lot of expats out there who aren't vocal online, and they've got this shit nailed, wired, and they don't need to hear this speech. But hopefully they'll have an Ethan Allen joke they can pass around now. And there's a lot of people online talking a lot of shit, and they just don't understand stepping into different cultures, stepping into different environments, and that if you don't adjust yourself, check yourself, react a little differently, respond a little differently, behave a little differently, you can find yourself in that situation. And that would be a very sad, sad situation. The other thing people don't seem to give any regard to is you don't know who you're talking to. Getting back to the Philippines and all the local drama there going on, if you're going to talk shit about eggs and talk shit about a cook, well, I'd be damn careful to make sure I knew that cook didn't have any family in the city I was moving to, right? And if you're going to talk shit about the city, I definitely wouldn't try and punk the mayor by putting up a photo of you and the mayor, and then, oh yeah, look, the city's full of shit, the city this, the city that, the city this, and look at all the rats, and it stinks. Because where are you moving? You think that mayor can't pick up the phone and say, hey, this Cano's coming over there, you want to screw with them? That mayor has every ability to do that. And what if that cook has family and friends where you're moving? What if you're moving next door to his godfather and you don't even know it, right? What do you think that life is going to be like for you? So, you know, have a little respect for yourself, have a little respect for people around you, and remember, you don't want to be buying Ethan Allen at cordwood prices, right? Or by the cord, right? And you want people to stop and pull you out of the ditch and not expect to, you know, 20,000 pesos for their effort, right? You know, I could tell a number of different stories of just about that single act, pulling people out of ditches. And, you know, it's funny. I've seen people get raped and I've seen people get by for free. And it's not free. It's goodwill. And it's given to people who give it. And when you're out there, you know, talking shit about people, you got to be careful about who they are, especially locals in local environments. Now, I have no qualms about talking shit about expats in other countries doing stupid shit, especially if I'm going to be in that country and they're doing stupid shit that's going to reflect on me. I have no problem talking shit about them because I'm usually defending locals when I do that. But, you know, if you live in a country full time or you visit it frequently, got to be real careful who you talk about and how specific you are. One last story to make you think a little bit, I hope. I'm in California, I'm picking up trash, and I'm in the parks like this, and I'm picking up trash, and there's this homeless guy, and he and I get along, and we're talking, and this and this and that, and I never gave him a bunch. I'd stop by with some water or bring him a battery or something to charge his shit off while I was in the area. Nothing overt. I'm not buying this relationship, right? With anything but goodwill. And I'm in another park, another day, another homeless man. I'm cleaning up, and he and I have some words. Well, he takes my picture and texts it around to all these other homeless people in the city and says, this guy's a bad guy, this guy's this guy's this. So when I'm over there petting this guy's dog a few days later and picked up my trash, we sit down, we're enjoying some coffee, playing with his dog, beautiful dog. He shows me the picture. It's like, hey, just so you know, this guy's saying this, this, and this. He's like, watch your back. If the homeless in California are that organized, what do you think the family units are like in other cities, in other countries, in other cultures, in places where you don't speak the language? I mean, they can be typing that shit out and you would never know, right? They don't have to be, sending it through some back channel, text message group, right? They can just be out in the open. Hey, this cano this, this cano that. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. When you're out walking around, you say F you, or somebody cuts you off and you flip them off. That may be a bigger insult than you really understand or intend. And that could have ramifications you don't see coming until they hit you, or you don't see coming, they hit you, and you still didn't see it coming. You still don't know why. So, yeah, just be aware of that. Just keep it in your mind. And the funny thing is all this is not an issue if you just have a decent amount of self-respect. Because if you have a decent amount of self-respect, the byproduct is respecting others above and beyond what you would hope to get back, right? And when you do that, you're never going to have any of these problems. But a lot of people think self-respect is this, self-respect is that, and they have this false narrative of what self-respect really is. Kind of like the false narrative going around about what an alpha is. Oh, an alpha this, an alpha that, and you're a beta, and you're a beta, and you're a beta. I don't think I've ever heard an alpha, a real alpha, call people betas. It's just not in their nature, unless you're like directly attacking someone. But even then, typical, what I understand of alphas, they wouldn't even attack that way. It's too soft, it's too weak. They're more, probably one of the best examples of an alpha I can think of that people might know is that Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Be polite, be professional until it's time to fight, then win. You don't just go throw punches or verbal jabs or whatever, right? Be polite, be professional until it's time to win, and then you win. That's about the best characterization of an alpha I've seen in that regard. And a lot of people just, miss all the other attributes of alphas and just ignore it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you care, do your own homework. Because I'm educated enough to know it. I'm not educated enough to teach it. It's time for me to stop watching these beautiful fish and go jump a train. Story of my life lately. Take care.